Okay, so we need to talk about James Somerton. As many of you are probably aware, and as is probably much far better covered in H. Bomber Guys and Todd in the Shadows video on this topic that many of you have probably already seen. If you haven't seen them yet, go watch them. That is a much better account of what actually happened. And honestly, they're just some of the greatest videos I've seen recently. I think they're very, very well made, much more well made than anything I could make, and much more articulate than anything I could bring to it. However, I do think that I have a very specific take I can sort of bring to it. I don't just want to dogpile on discourse, but I legitimately have some opinions that I would kind of like to just put out there. And that is based on the fact that I was a fan of James's for quite some time before this revelation. And I think that I'm feeling something right now that a lot of people have paid lip service to. Um, but I think that I haven't seen a lot of videos that really put a focus on it. And, that's not their fault. That's not really the perspective that many people have. I just thought I might be able to provide something neat, unique. So and I don't want to make this about me, because it isn't. This is this isn't just that some person on the internet got their feelings hurt because someone they watched and liked was dishonest to them. Uh, the real crime here is against the people that James harmed and stole from, the actual marginalized creators that put their heart and soul and effort into things that were stolen by this man. But the real thing that I think has been sort of running through my head in all this is a sense of almost stupidity for having watched this man and not have caught up to many of his blatant errors throughout his entire career that I have witnessed, and I didn't pick up on a single thing. Like a lot of the times, like with the Illuminati thing that happened, I was also a fan of Illuminati, and a lot of times, even though I was still a fan of her, I still sort of knew that she was churning out cheap content. And so when the revelations about her were made, I was able to point to that and go, oh, I wasn't dumb. I caught up on to what was happening. And well, anyone could have fallen for that. But with James, it was different because a lot of people seem to think that it would be hard to fall for something like that. And I think the scary thing is that it isn't. It's not hard to fall for propaganda and misinformation. And it's tough because I think that there's definitely a self deprecating space on this platform that sort of thinks that, well, I am very vigilant and I don't trust anything that I watch and I'm paranoid. And just because of that, that means anything I watch has to be specifically cleared. I can't just fall for anything. Propaganda doesn't work on me. And I think that that is an idea that needs to die. And this uh, whole scandal has really brought to light because I personally don't research every claim that appears in a video I watch. I don't feel the need to. I don't feel like that would be healthy. I feel like, I need to conserve my brain power to stuff that matters to me, and so I can't investigate every single claim in something I watch. And that's just a fact. But the truth is, I haven't been verifying the sort of information I've been taking in. I've been going off entirely of what some random person who I don't know, and I would guess that most people watching don't know either, and I have gone completely off of what he has told me about this, and just so many topics. And it was the same with Illuminati. And again, there is a lot of content creators that I completely trust, and I trust is probably the wrong word, because really what we've seen is that this can happen to anyone. Anyone can plagiarize. I thought that the internet historian was just, a silly little YouTube space that he's been around for so long that I think that everyone uh, just sort of kind of figured he was just some inconspicuous uh, small figure that I don't think anyone really cared about. Or, I mean, he had a dedicated fan base, but I think a lot of people just sort of didn't think that it would be possible that he would do something like this. And this video is really sort of rambling. I'm just kind of trying to get my thoughts straight about this, and it's really all over the place. So I apologize for that. I don't have a script going into this. Um, as you can probably tell, this is unedited. This is just my raw opinion. Um, and this might not even be the version that I end up sharing to YouTube if I share it at all. I just needed to get some of my thoughts on this. I remember I was watching something with my little brother on the TV, and I looked at my phone, and I had just been thinking about H Bomber Guy because I'm a fan of his, and he, as many of you may know, he posts very rarely, and so it's really like a lightning in the bottle moment whenever it happens, and so I was very excited, and so I naturally whipped out my phone almost immediately after it came out. I needed to pay attention to something else, so there was like a 40-minute delay from when the video came out when I ended up starting watching it, but um, it sort of turned to something else as I started to realize that so many of the people who I had watched their videos and loved what they put out for so many years had been lying and were completely exposed in the video as liars and thieves and just the least moral kinds of people that you could even think about in the internet. And I think that members of all generations have sort of had this moment where they realize that the celebrities or people that they worship might not necessarily be as uh, moral as they thought they were. And I'm not saying I worship these YouTubers, God no, but like with rock stars, even my favorite rock stars, some of these people I listen to their music all the time, and I absolutely adore. A lot of the 70s rock stars, mostly because of drug use and just the entire scene at the time, committed some just horrible things. They said some horrible things and did horrible things to people, and a lot of people got hurt. And I don't know that a lot of people have sort of recognized that. A lot of these people have gone unnoticed in terms of the sort of debate we kind of conduct over like accountability, quote unquote, um, in public figures. And I think that we're starting to see with this that even the people that we like and even the people that um, we trust aren't, and people who are on the same side as us aren't blameless, and that we should still check with them. And I know for a fact that when I was young, I would watch videos just nonstop of people doing like, oh my god, like some crazy thing happened in the woods, top 10 crazy things that happened in Disneyland, number 8 will shock you, and the thumbnail was like a messed up photo of Mickey Mouse. It's so cheesy, it's so photoshopped, it's so obviously fake to anyone, but having been raised on the internet, I didn't notice that at first. I wholeheartedly believed that there were feral children roaming the woods, that there were murders at Disneyland, that Mickey Mouse was evil. There was just ridiculous stuff on here, but because I didn't know any better, I completely took it as truth. And, actually, one of my parents said, I don't think that some of the stuff you're telling me is true, and I think you should actually look into it. And I don't think that you should just take this stuff for like as facts just because you hear it on the internet. You should look into a source. And I was like completely belligerent. I was like, no, 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 you don't understand. I saw this in a YouTube video. That means it must be true. And people who fall for stuff on the internet are dumb. I'm not dumb. I'm so smart. And I think that's really the trap that people fall into, is that even and I am a very self-deprecating person. I think my friends can attest to that. I do not think very highly of like my abilities and stuff, and yet even people who deal with that kind of thing like I do, even we fall into the trap of assuming that we are smarter than the average person. There's a quote that you are not immune to propaganda, and I think that really speaks to something that we're seeing. And of course, I'm a lot younger and a lot more unexperienced than a lot of the people making the video responses to this. And this is not like premium stuff like theirs. Like you wouldn't pay like a Nebula subscription to watch me ramble on about what I'm thinking. But I just I'm really curious to see if there's anyone else who sort of feels this way, because the vast majority of people, even though there's a huge wave of reaction to the James Somerton scandal, as some have dubbed it, most of the people involved had never heard of this guy, or if they had immediately, or at least they claim that they had immediately pegged him as a troublemaker from day one, and they could tell he was bullshit. Um, with the internet historian, it's a different story. A lot of his fans, like he had way more fans than James Somerton. He was a much bigger creator. And even though he was just a small aspect of H Bomber Guy's video, I'm seeing a lot of hurt and betrayal from some of his fans, or I should say former fans, in some cases, that someone who they trusted so much could do this to them, that someone they thought put their heart and soul into stuff that they showed to their dedicated audience of sometimes millions of fans. They thought naturally that since these people had these positions in these communities they inhabited, that meant they were trustworthy. And I think we're starting to see that that's not the case. If I'm being honest, I've always been a little afraid that what I watch and, the stuff that I'm constantly perceiving, because, we live in an internet age. We're completely bombarded with just opinions, and it's so incredibly hard to know whether or not you're like accurate about something. There are people who genuinely believe that the earth is flat. And it's so easy just to laugh at these people and to point and laugh and go, well, I could never believe something as stupid as that. And to an extent, maybe that's true. Maybe there is a bit of us that has like a BS detector, and maybe our inherent ideas are better, because a lot of the stuff, not all of the stuff, but a lot of the stuff that James said in his videos were sort of accurate. I think a lot of his takes, well, as detailed in H Bomber Guy and Todd in the Shadows video, a lot of his takes were just absolutely wild and horrible and offensive. But the vast majority of the stuff he was saying, mostly because it was plagiarized from actual established queer figures, but a lot of the stuff he was saying was the sort of stuff we all agree with. If you're in his space of YouTube anyway, a lot of that is stuff that you would agree with. Like gay people deserve rights, and that homophobia is a problem. That it's something that like we should be vigilant to. And I think that just the conversation around factual accuracy is so often framed uh, in context of the opposition. Like, I disagree with this person, so I fact check them, and they're dumb and wrong. but we don't fact check our own spaces because we feel we don't need to. We feel that, oh, we already know that, we've, some of us are always thought this, some of us have done research into it, but we think, oh, since it's so obvious to us that just this base fact that gay people need rights, anyone who's saying that must be good and right about everything. Um, and I don't know, maybe you're watching this, if anyone's watching this and thinking, no, there's no way I would ever fall for this. And maybe that's true. Maybe you have a BS detector that's better than mine. I'm certainly not above thinking that's possible. But I think that it's definitely important that we do start, at the very minimum, doing a little research into what we do. I remember, I don't really have TikTok anymore. Maybe after I post this, I might get it again, but maybe not for a while. But I did have TikTok a little while ago, and a lot of the times I would be, scrolling, and I would see a news story, and it would be very interesting. But I would always have in the back of my mind just this sort of voice like, are you really going to be one of those people who get their news from TikTok? And so I'd fact check it, and I would see whether or not it was correct first, and I would go through several major publications. And that was a healthy instinct to have. And would just like to see more of this imported to other social media sites, because I am not like this about YouTube. For whatever reason, I tend to believe what I hear on YouTube more implicitly than what I do on, say, Reddit or TikTok and Twitter, because those have, such a reputation as quote unquote garbage platforms. It's sort of a running joke in those communities that no one who's on there even respects the platform they're on. But for some reason, YouTube is different. And it's not that, there aren't self deprecating jokes and that we don't recognize that it is another social media platform with a corrupt algorithm that deliberately incentivizes misery as long as it can get a reaction out of someone. I think that at some level we're all aware of this, but I think that YouTube isn't really seen on the same level as, your Reddits and your TikToks and your 4chans. People tend to believe what they see on TikTok more implicitly. And maybe that's just because typically if you're watching some, not anymore, but it used to be technically if you're watching something and it's an hour or longer, then it's probably a documentary and it probably knows what it's talking about. And so people tend to, I think, inherently trust long form content more. And I think that, video essays give off almost a documentary feel. And this is a half-formed thought. I'm just kind of going off. I haven't done any research into this. But I think what we might be seeing here is indicative of a larger trend, I think, where documentaries, and this is wild, but I think that documentaries as an art form are starting to become more and more invalidated. Because it used to be that documentaries were just like PBS and that kind of thing. And like they were sometimes boring, like Planet Earth, that kind of thing. They were sometimes boring, but they were informational. We trusted that. And not always. Some were deceptively edited. Deceptive editing has always been a thing. But I think that what we saw happen with the news, where the news was inherently seen as trustworthy until it wasn't, um, I think we're seeing that happen with documentaries and things that sort of mirror documentaries, like long form video essay content, like the type that James Somerton produced. I think that we're really starting to see almost a decline in the inherent trustworthiness of this. Um, and again, I'm not making any big claims. I think part of, like, one of the major points of these videos is that of like H Bomber guys and Todd in the Shadows' videos is that you should do your research before making some sort of wild claim. And this is all just here. Okay, this is stuff that's already here. Don't quote me on this. This is just sort of me trying to figure stuff out. I feel like I can't like say that enough. I haven't done some sort of crazy research into it. This isn't a video essay. This is just my honest, real-time reaction to the stuff that's been happening. But I think that this decline in documentary stuff might have almost been seen when reality television started becoming so mainstream, because that in itself starts to purports to be an honest depiction of stuff as it actually happened, which is also what documentaries claim to be. And you know, almost no one watches a reality show and claims to think, oh yeah, this is 100% accurate. You know, when you're watching the Real Housewives, you know what you're getting into. Keeping Up with the Kardashians isn't supposed to be some sort of hyper, like, researched, like, piece on the modern life of celebrities. It's trash. You know, everyone knows it's trash. The same way people don't watch WWE and take it as a legitimate sports competition. People don't watch reality shows with that goal in mind. Um, but now we start to see stuff like the boom in true crime, and I think suddenly what we're seeing is that there's a market for this kind of content. There is a market for cheap, easy to produce, uh, quote unquote true content, and honestly, it sort of reminds me of tabloids. And I think what we're seeing here with James Somerton is not a horrible, horrible, you know, devil, wicked monster man. I think he certainly should be criticized, and I'm not going to watch his videos anymore. But we're just seeing someone who realized that he could capitalize off of this growing market of video essayist YouTube, and realized that he didn't even have to do the work. He just had to wear sweater jackets and glasses and talk in a fancy accent. And he thought, and he was right, that people would just believe him. And he got away with this for years. He's got thousands and thousands of dollars from Patreon. Uh, and, you know, the jig is up now. But at the end of the day, you know, he didn't lose. He got what he wanted. He's already stolen untold amounts of money from the plagiarism of smaller creators. He's already made a bunch of money off of this. And, you know, we're all sort of looking at this through the lens of this is the demise of a big creator on the platform. But no, this is more of a harbinger, of a warning of things to come. That if we entirely make, you know, if we entirely reduce what's supposed to be informed, like it's in the title, video essays. They're supposed to be essays. They're not supposed to be just cheap content that is churned out. And I know I accidentally used the word content a couple of times earlier in this video, but that's because it's so heavily ingrained in the platform itself. This isn't, you know, a documentary. This isn't supposed to be informative. It's content. James Somerton releases a video. H Bomber Guy releases a video. And several small reaction channels and drama channels, hey, mine included, all pump out videos to try to, you know, just like cheat the algorithm because this is the hot thing to talk about. It's all content. And, you know, when you reduce it to that, then James Somerton's videos, which are, as has been pointed out, riddled with factual inaccuracies and plagiarism, get put on the same pedestal as H. Bomber Guy's videos, which is like 3 hours and 50 minutes long. He cites all of his sources. It's immaculately researched and presented. It's truly one of the best video essays I've seen on this platform in a long time. And that's what I've come to expect from him. You know, not for this to become just some H Bomber Guy circle jerk, but it's good. It's a good video, and I think that we can't afford for it to just become drama. You know, in the video, he states that he does not want his video to be drama. He does not want to do a drama channel. He regards it as the lowest form of internet stuff. Or he says something like that in the video. It's been 2 days since I've seen it. I probably should have taken notes. But yeah, I am, again, As I'm closing out, I might start doing a conclusion. So sorry that this video was just so scattershot. I'm really just trying to get a lot of opinions and emotions articulated into words, because this has really been a tough time for me. And hey, if you were a fan of James's, or internet historians or Illuminati or someone else who has been sort of called out recently, well, leave a comment. Oh God, that was such a bad segue. Um, like, comment, and subscribe. When people are like, you'd think they're so like subtle about it, like, hey, I wouldn't do this. I'm not one of those lame people, but like, comment, and subscribe. I'm doing that. That's what I'm doing right now. Give me reaction. I react to my content, please. Notice me, YouTube, please. I'm so very important. My voice. Listen to me now. No, I God, this is bad. I'm trying to say. I'm just gonna wrap up all my thoughts into words. James Somerton, I trusted him, and I don't anymore. Obviously, and that's no, that that isn't it. It that might seem at the surface to just be, the end of it. There was a guy, we liked him, we don't anymore. But that's not the case. I hope I've demonstrated at least a little bit that this is part of a deeper issue, that I think we like to just be spoon fed information, and I think it's healthy. And there's a aspect of this that gets to paranoia, and I don't think that's good. But there should be a sort of little voice in your head that reminds you to stay vigilant, because you do never know when someone is lying to you and when you're being manipulated by an algorithm. And the second we forget that, the second we let ourselves get taken advantages of by the YouTube algorithm, James Somerton, the internet historian, Illuminati, and all of the people who have been criticized lately. Hell, there's probably people, very well known people, very well liked people, who are on the verge of a sort of similar cancellation, quote unquote, themselves. I think that I don't think this is the last we'll hear of this issue. I think this is the beginning of a much larger conversation, and I just want anyone who watches this, which, like, this might be like the first video like on my channel. Like, I'm not a well-known creator. If I get like viewed by 3 bots, then that's a great day for me. But if by some miracle of nature you're watching this, um and also, just I know my face is in my glasses, I know there's like a reflection, but if you're watching this just horrible rambling rant, that just I want you to think about where you're getting your information of. And I'm not purporting to be displaying any facts. I don't know the facts. I am just a dumb teenager who uh who wants to express his own opinion. That's really all this is. I don't want I don't want to make it seem like I think I have some sort of hot take on the situation. Um, but I do have a perspective that I haven't seen expressed a lot, and I thought I could provide some new, just a new way of looking at this, from a new vantage point. Again, not the most sophisticated in the video in the world. There's no lighting. Uh, there's no editing. I God, if I look at this video in 2 years, it's just, oh man, this is so bad. Anyway, okay, that's my 2 cents. If somehow you found this and got even a modicum of enjoyment from this, then just thank you. And if you feel strongly one way or another about anything I've said, then Tell me about it. Let me know about it. Okay, that's my thoughts. Bye.